Right now I'm up in the Yorkshire Dales. Behind me is the famous Ribblehead Viaduct. I'm trying to shoot some film that expired almost 25 years ago. And so whilst I'm waiting for conditions to clear up, I thought I'd tell you about this, my favorite film camera. It is the Canon EOS 300 and it's actually the first film camera I've ever bought. Now I chose it for this trip for a number of reasons, and whilst going through that decision process I realized this is actually the film camera that I enjoy using the most. So I thought I'd make a video telling you why you might want to consider this. The first reason, and one that I'm very thankful for, is that this uses the Canon EF mount. Now that means that you can use quite modern lenses on this system. I've also got a bunch of them already from being a Canon shooter for over 10 years, so a massive advantage for me personally. But it also means that lenses are readily available. There's all sorts that you can choose from very specialist lenses to super fast primes. The one that I really enjoy using on this body is the Canon EOS EF 40mm f2.8 STM lens. A little bit of a mouthful, but what you need to know about that is it's one of the sharpest lenses that Canon ever made, and also one of the very smallest. It's a pancake lens, f2.8, super sharp, wide open, and it fits right on this film camera and gets some incredible shots. I also really like the 40mm focal length. I spend a lot of time shooting 28mm on my Ricoh GR3, 35mm on my Fuji X100 series, so having a 40mm is really refreshing, and that extra reach I really appreciate sometimes. So a great combination right here, and it's not too expensive. That brings me on to my next point. I picked up 2 of these in a bundle on eBay for £15. I got them about 4 years ago, and I've shot many rolls of film throughout it, and it's been super reliable. So very cheap and a great deal if you can find them out there. One thing to note though, this is not one of those romantic film cameras. It is a plastic fantastic. It was made in the early 2000s and you can really tell. I don't like this silvery plastic either, but I have to say the looks have grown on me a little bit over time. But it's certainly not a Leica or a Hasselblad, so don't go in expecting that. Another reason that you might want to consider this if you're a beginner or just looking for an easy way to shoot film is it has a great film auto advance system. I shot a roll recently on my Canon AE1. I dropped it off at the lab and I went to pick it up and they told me the film didn't advance at all and I'd lost a complete roll of images. With this though, it has an auto advance system. You load it in and it automatically scrolls through all of the film so you can see that it's loaded and ready to go. And just press it. The other brilliant thing about this is that it unrolls the entire roll of film and then rolls it back into the canister as you take shots. That means for whatever reason, if you drop the camera or accidentally pop the back open, you don't lose any of the shots that you've already taken because they've gone inside the film canister already. This has saved me a couple of times and it's just a really good and logical way to go about film loading. So definitely a positive, and it means that it's going to be more reliable when you're getting your shots back from the lab. Another thing that I love about this camera is that it's actually pretty small and pretty light. Especially with this lens mounted, I can fit this in a coat pocket. It's not a heavy chunk of metal. I can throw it on a strap, put it around my neck, and it's going to be fine taking it out all day. So that's something to be thankful for. Another thing that's so good about this camera is just how versatile it is. It has so many different modes, from aperture priority, shutter speed priority, all the way through to fully auto or fully manual. You really can set this up to be a point and shoot camera or dial in the settings yourself for a true manual experience. It has auto exposure compensation. When I'm firing some shots on this expired film, I'm auto compensating and overexposing by 2 stops. I don't have to do anything, it's just dialed into the camera and I can shoot away. It's a true kind of modern film experience. Well, it's at this stage that you might be interested in some of the shots that I've produced on the Canon EOS 300. And so let me show you now on the screen a particular trip that I took it on where I went and hiked the entirety of the Northumberland coastal path and used this camera to document everything. I was really pleased with some of these examples, so let me know what you think in the comment section down below. It would be remiss of me not to mention the autofocus on this body as well. It is really quite good. It has the same autofocus system as my original Canon 550D, the first digital camera that I ever bought. It's got 7 autofocus points, including one cross type in the middle that is really quite accurate. It has the best autofocus that I've ever used in a film camera, and I really appreciate that because it just means the number of shots that I get that are keepers at the end of the roll is going to be substantially higher. And that's really what this camera is all about. It's just reliable as a film camera. It was produced at a time when modern technology was starting to get really good. The electronics are really solid, the autofocus is good, it can auto-load the film, and it just means that when I'm shooting film, there are so many variables that could go wrong at any stage of the process to ruin my image. And a camera like this just takes so many of those and automates it for you so you don't have to worry about it. I know that my shots are going to be well exposed with good focus. I know that they're going to be sharp because of the lens system, and I know that the film is going to auto load through, and even if the back pops open, I won't lose any images. It really does just give me that safe and sound knowledge that at least I'm going to get an acceptable image on my roll when I'm shooting and investing some money in the film stock and development. It might not be as romantic as some of the other cameras, it might not be my dream camera like a Hasselblad X-Pan, but I think if you're shooting film, if you're relatively new to it, or you're just looking for a really solid setup that's going to get you some reliably good shots, then this is a camera that you should be looking to pick up. There we go, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that the conditions can clear up a bit so I can get some photos of the viaduct behind me. If you have any questions for me or comments on film cameras that you enjoy, please leave it in the comment section down below. I've really enjoyed interacting with all of you down there recently, so keep it up please. That's it from me, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully somewhere a little bit sunnier. Cheers.